So without further ado, I'm going to ask Tommy, so can you give him a warm welcome, please?
Thanks very much, Joe, and thanks very much to the party for the opportunity to address the meeting. My name is Tom Fitzgerald, and I'm a regional organiser, or I was a regional organiser for BATU, the Building and Allied Trade Union, for the last 8 years. And unfortunately there on May Day last Thursday, our General Secretary celebrated May Day. Technically, he's not my expertise. Just to say that last Thursday on May Day, our General Secretary celebrated May Day by sacking a shop steward and another full-time organiser. He also introduced pay cuts on full-time office staff in the BATU office. He also put a security guard in the building, changed the locks, and effectively locked workers out of their systems and forcing people to do nothing on the day. The response to that was an overwhelming ballot for industrial action last Friday, which was served in BATU by the Trade Union Unite, which we're all members of. The industrial action begun today at 10:30. That was industrial action ran out today. And it was an interesting point. Brendan Ogle, who people will know from ILDA and now from Unite as a full-time organiser, was making the point was that the last time an affiliate of Congress put a picket on another affiliate of Congress was James Larkin calling for trade unions to support him in the 1913 lockout. Of course, Brendan Ogle made a point, you know, he's standing in proud tradition. I very quickly made a point, Brendan, in disputes such as this, it's not the full-time official that's the most important, it's the workers. So we had a bit of a debate around that, it was good crack. What has BATU done in response to this? So far, BATU, the General Secretary, and I'm making a very important point, this is the leadership of BATU, not the membership. I'm making some points about the proud tradition that is BATU and has been BATU over the last number of years. The General Secretary has advised the Labour Relations Commission that he won't be engaged in the Labour Court, that BATU won't go to the Labour Court to discuss this, despite the fact it's something that we call upon employers throughout the industry to do to resolve disputes. He's also advised that the concept of last in, first out, which people will know, it's a norm in the trade union movement. It's a very specific norm in the construction sector because of the transient nature of the industry. In fact, we have many agreements which call upon employers to implement the policy of last in, first out. They've abandoned that particular concept by sacking the full-time union official with 8 years service in a shop steward and replacing them with someone with 13 months service. So it's quite clear this leadership has abandoned some of the fundamental principles of the trade union movement. And it's quite shocking. I was saying to people earlier when they come in that I was actually shocked by the very last refuge of these so-called leadership of BATU today. We put an official picket outside the Building and Allied Trade Union, and people who've been around the movement for 25, 30 years in the shape of the General Secretary, Paddy O'Shaughnessy, and Assistant General Secretary Brendan O'Sullivan walked by the picket line today. I made a point, and I was conscious of the fact that people wouldn't do it with a rush of blood to the head. I made a point to Brendan O'Sullivan. Brendan, you've been around the trade union movement for 30 years. Everything you do now will be washed away when you walk past that picket line, because you will, the history books will record that you're a scab. That's what the history books will say. And very quickly he shuddered across the line. So people should be quite clear of the leadership of BATU and how they're conducting their business. I want to again stress the point that this is about the leadership of BATU and how they're conducting themselves. BATU is a proud union, tradition of fighting on behalf of building workers in the industry. People will know, hopefully, around the trade union movement, some important campaigns have been led by BATU and the activists that exist in there. The rotten leadership does not reflect the rank and file membership that exists. In fact, obviously, when any worker puts a picket outside their workplace, there's a certain amount of fear and trepidation. And even as a full-time official, I was quite fearful engaging in this action today. I was fearful from the point of view, I wasn't 100% sure what the mood would be amongst the membership, the wider trade union movement and so on. But I was quickly a lot to celebrate before the end of the day. Building workers, trade unionists, activists from around called up, made phone calls, dropped down tea and coffee, and very quickly the people on the picket line realised that their actions are absolutely correct and justified, because there wasn't one individual worker that came up and asked us, are you sure you're doing the right thing here, because of what a placard was saying. Quite simply, union officials passed picket line. That situation is untenable for them going forward. As I say, BATU has a proud tradition of fighting on behalf of building workers. That proud tradition is going to be something that is essential going into the period that we're going in. Everybody will be aware of the economic situation and the downturn that exists both in the wider economy, particularly in the construction sector. I'm sure people will be aware that the first port of call in an economic downturn in terms of attacking workers will be the construction industry. And already we've seen job losses to the tune of 20,000 in the construction sector. We've seen the Secretary General, Tom Parlin, coming out calling for a 33% pay deduction on new rates going into the construction sector. He's also arguing for a 1-year pay freeze for the wider group of building workers. These battles, this is only the start in many ways of the battles that are going to face building workers. And rather than the trade union movement, and in many ways BATU was stood in the vanguard of the trade union movement in the construction sector, gearing up and mobilising forces to deal with this battle, they sacked union organisers. It's quite incredible, it's quite stark. Now, unfortunately, amongst the craft unions and the general unions, there isn't a real leadership that exists to fill that particular vacuum. So we're obviously optimistic that out of this dispute that we can actually build a fighting trade union to fill that particular vacuum, because despite the fact of the BATU leadership making the point that we're losing membership and therefore there's a financial crisis, etc., we believe that in the downturn trade unions become more relevant, and that's been our experience for the last 6 or 7 months going out to intervene into the construction sector, where 50% of my work has been laid off and redundancies, etc. But our relevance has actually increased more than decreased, and it just gives an indication of how removed the trade union leadership is. Now, speaking of the trade union leadership, there has been an intervention by the Irish Congress of Trade Unions on a diplomatic footing, looking and seeing and trying to fix, which hasn't really achieved a whole lot, rather than the Congress leadership coming back and saying the situation's terrible, it's dire, it's stark, he's not going to take us back, but maybe there's a few bob on the table. And the General Secretary actually made a point. It was astounding. I'm not for turning. I was quite astounded to really realise the historical significance of that comment. We made the point, the gent might not be for turning, but neither are we. Congress was astounded at that. Congress was quite astounded at that and said, listen, we have to find a mechanism to fix this. Our resolve is strong. We actually aren't going anywhere. We believe at the moment Congress have intervened and are part of the solution at the moment. They're attempting to fix this. But very quickly, if Congress don't fix this and place sanctions on BATU and the BATU leadership for what they're doing, they'll become part of the problem. And at that point in time, we'll become a legitimate target. Because we'll be making the point quite clearly in the pay talks that they have an anti-trade union employer under the Executive Council of Congress, a situation that is untenable. So with that report in mind, I would ask people to, over the next week or two, if the opportunity presents itself, call to the picket line. It's 13 Blessing Street in support of workers there. They're taking a bold step, and we will come out to the other end of this. But also I'd ask people to look at protests that we will be having at the pay talks. If for a moment the General Secretary thinks he's going to go out to the pay talks and sit there as someone who was scabbed the picket line without some sort of response, he's sadly mistaken. So I'd ask all trade unions, everybody in the room, and back in their workplaces, to bring the message back there that we will be engaging in protests, and where possible we'd appreciate all your support. David, thanks very much.